It's the world's newest country, in theory at least, but with a population of around 6 million, an arid, drought-afflicted landscape, and an economy based around the export of sheep, goats and camels, Somaliland might not at first look like a big deal, but it's absolutely at the heart of a whole new power struggle that's taking place in the region.
Welcome to World Reframed. Today we'll be discussing why so many powers around the world, from Turkey to China and the UAE to Ethiopia, are so closely interested in the future of Somaliland. The latest chapter begins with a short statement published on the Israeli government website the day after Christmas. In it, Benjamin Netanyahu praised Somaliland for fighting terrorism and advancing regional peace.
It's good to talk to you, and before anything else, I want you to know that I'm signing now, as we speak, Israel's official recognition of Somaliland and its right of self-determination. Our friendship is seminal and historic. So I'm very, very happy and I'm very proud of this day, and I want to wish you and the people of Somaliland the very, very best there. And this is a wonderful day. It's a historic day. And of course, I'll communicate to President Trump your willingness and desire to join the Abraham Accords. So thank you, Mr. President. Please convey my best regards and the best regards of the people of Israel to the independent people of Somaliland. Thank you, sir.
And a quick editor's note here. We're going to refer to Somaliland as a region, as most of the world does not recognise it as a country. If you're in Somaliland, or indeed Israel, you may disagree.
So let's get into it. We can start in the early 20th century when Somalia was two European colonies. Somaliland in the northwest, like the head of a horse looking up towards North Africa, that was ruled by Britain. Then the chest of the horse backing onto the Indian Ocean was an Italian colony.
And the two areas were ruled quite differently. Britain was basically interested only in supplying its naval base in Aden, so it didn't pay much attention to the running or development of British Somaliland. But Italy wanted to generate wealth and have a proper empire, so it sought to create plantations and centralised government. Now, this isn't a history podcast, so we can skip through to independence in the 1960s, where the two countries agreed to unite into Somalia. But that history does bear a factor in the differences that exist even today. And that unity that they built kind of held together for a little bit, until a 1969 coup brought in the dictator Siad Barre. He was overthrown in 1991 and the central state effectively collapsed.
The northwestern region that had been British Somaliland took the opportunity to unilaterally declare independence and was ignored by the rest of the world, who were focused on averting disasters in the rest of the country. Various multinational forces intervened in the next decades, but pirates and terrorists flourished, notably the Al-Shabaab group.
Since 2012, though, the situation has gradually improved, with a federal state emerging where Somaliland is pretty much left to its own devices, and the neighbouring region of Puntland also enjoys significant autonomy from the government in Mogadishu. And supporters of Somaliland would argue that it's demonstrated its ability to rule itself, with several peaceful handovers of power and its own legal and governmental framework. So Ishmael, why did Israel decide to get involved now?
Well, Israel decided to get involved because this engagement with Somaliland actually dates back over several decades, perhaps both countries felt isolated and wanted a friend. But more importantly for Israel, Somaliland's location is strategic on the approach to the Bab el-Mandab Strait, which guards the entrance to the Red Sea.
Yeah, which is just a massively important shipping route, and because of its narrowness, it can be closed down relatively easily.
And right now, especially relevant to Israel because the country's arch nemesis, Iran, has a foothold on the other side in Yemen through the Houthi movement.
Yeah, and getting a base to be able to hit the Houthis from the south, as well as down from Israel, would be quite an asset. So you can imagine Iran wasn't too happy about this itself.
No country has confirmed this matter. In fact, this recognition is fundamentally baseless and meaningless. The recognition of a part of an independent country, a part of Somali territory, by a party whose own existence is illegitimate, is an action solely aimed at fragmenting Islamic countries, towards dividing the region, and towards making the region more defenseless against the ambitions and aggressions of the Zionist regime.
But this story goes well beyond Israel. The European Union and the African Union, along with 21 Arab and African nations, have condemned the Israeli recognition of Somaliland. Among them, Turkey, which has its own regional ambitions and has formed close security and commercial ties with the government of Mogadishu, and China, which sees the area as hugely important to its Belt and Road trade network.
Yeah, and China hates secessions because it's worried about independence movements in its own east.
And it is even sending a foreign minister to Somalia this month to show its support.
And then there's the UAE, which was conspicuous in its absence from the Arab Declaration. It's recently been in the news for a bitter split with former allies Saudi Arabia over the Gulf of Aden in Yemen. So it could be looking for a new partner in the same area. And the Saudis did sign the declaration. The UAE has definitely been stepping up its foreign policy activities in an attempt to protect its investments and trade. So tacit support for Somaliland could prove valuable if, for instance, the US followed its friends in Israel in recognising the breakaway.
And of course, we know that Donald Trump is definitely not a fan of Somalia, going out of his way to insult the country and its people, so it's easy to imagine him backing a breakup.
I've also announced a permanent pause on third world migration, including from hellholes like Afghanistan, Haiti, Somalia, and many other countries. I didn't say shithole, you did. But we always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster, right? Filthy, dirty, disgusting, ridden with crime.
Not to mention Ethiopia, which, as a huge country, we keep needing to mention this, that is the second most populous country in Africa, but doesn't have any access to the sea. So a deal to recognize Somaliland that involved opening new passages to the coast would be very tempting for Addis Ababa.
Yeah, so many countries in play here. And that's not to mention the impact that recognising the breakaway could have for other unrecognised regions. I'm thinking Western Sahara, Kosovo, perhaps most relevantly Palestine. And I'd flag up here a post that the prominent Ethiopian scholar Saifuddin Adem wrote for Global South World, where he basically suggested that the answer to this issue was a kind of compromise, where all the nations of the Horn of Africa, so Eritrea, Ethiopia, Somalia, Djibouti, could basically federate together. He points out that the tribal relationships in these areas are in many cases more important than national affiliations, but they don't map neatly onto country borders. Whether the recognition of Somaliland brings the United States of the Horn of Africa any closer, or in fact further from reality, remains to be seen.
Quite an interesting take. This has been World Reframed, part of the Global South World. Until next week, goodbye.